The front seats. Milind sir.
विनेश आणि सगळ्यांना खाली स्वप्नील दोन्ही स्वप्नील रोहित कुठे आहे रोहितला पण दे
नौशाद कपिल को भी आ
योगेश पुढेच या विनेश पाटील कुठे
त्या दोघांना घ्यायचं मागं थोडं मागं सरकून बसते ते तुम्ही दोघं मागे मागे सरकून सगळ्यांनी कॅमेरा मिळतो
येत आहे का
बस ना अजून वर कोण नाही आहे
नमस्ते. आजच्या इंटरनॅशनल वुमन्स डेच्या निमित्ताने प्रेरणादायी आणि परिवर्तन घडवणाऱ्या महिलांचा सन्मान करण्यासाठी आपण सगळे इथे एकत्रित झालो आहोत. स्मार्ट एन्व्हायरो सिस्टम्स प्रायव्हेट लिमिटेडच्या वतीने आयोजित सेलिब्रेटिंग वुमन इन सस्टेनेबिलिटी या विशेष कार्यक्रमात आपले मनःपूर्वक स्वागत आहे. आज आपण अशा प्रेरणादायी महिलांचा गौरव करणार आहोत ज्या सस्टेनेबिलिटी, इनोव्हेशन अँड कम्युनिटी डेव्हलपमेंट या क्षेत्रात महत्त्वपूर्ण योगदान देत आहेत आणि समाजात सकारात्मक बदल घडवत आहेत. या कार्यक्रमासाठी आपण सर्वांनी आपली उपस्थित राहिलात याबद्दल आम्ही आपले मनःपूर्वक आभार मानतो. थँक्यू ऑल फॉर जॉईनिंग अस अँड बीइंग अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस स्पेशल सेलिब्रेशन. आता आपण कार्यक्रमाची सुरुवात दीपप्रज्वलनाने करूया. मी विनंती करतो मान्यवर पाहुणे, पॅनलिस्ट आणि स्मार्ट एन्व्हायरो सिस्टीमचे संचालक मंडळ सदस्यांनी मंचावरील दीपप्रज्वलन करावे.
या कुंडे तुषार
आजच्या या आपल्या कार्यक्रमातील एक अत्यंत प्रेरणादायी व्यक्तिमत्व म्हणजे पद्मश्री राहिबाई सोमा पोपरे, ज्यांना प्रेमाने बीजबाता म्हणून ओळखले जाते. पारंपरिक देशी बियाण्यांचे जतन आणि शाश्वत शेतीसाठी त्यांनी अतिशय महत्त्वपूर्ण कार्य केले आहे. आज त्या प्रत्यक्षात उपस्थित राहू शकल्या नाही, मात्र काही दिवसापूर्वी मला त्यांच्याशी संवाद साधण्याची संधी मिळाली आणि त्या संवादातील प्रेरणादायी विचार आपण आता पाहणार आहोत.
स्मार्ट एन्व्हायरो सिस्टम्स परिवाराच्या वतीने आपण स्वागत करूया राहिबाई सोमा पोपरे यांचे, ज्यांना प्रेमाने बीजमाता म्हणून ओळखले जाते. त्या महाराष्ट्रातील एक प्रेरणादायी शेतकरी आणि बीज संरक्षक आहेत. त्यांनी पारंपरिक बियाणांचे जतन करून सेंद्रिय व शाश्वत शेतीला प्रोत्साहन देण्यासाठी महत्त्वपूर्ण कार्य केले आहे. त्यांच्या या उल्लेखनीय कार्याबद्दल त्यांना पद्मश्री हा सन्मान प्राप्त झाला आहे. स्मार्ट एन्व्हायरो सिस्टम्स तर्फे महिला दिनानिमित्त आयोजित सेलिब्रेटिंग वुमन इन सस्टेनेबिलिटी या कार्यक्रमात आम्ही त्यांचे मनःपूर्वक स्वागत करत आहोत. राहिबाई, आपण आपले नाव खऱ्या अर्थाने सार्थक केले आहे. राही म्हणजे मार्ग दाखवणारी व्यक्ती आणि आपल्या या कार्यातून आपण समाजाला शाश्वत शेतीसाठी योग्य दिशा दाखवण्याचे मोठे कार्य करत आहात. नमस्ते राहिबाई, आपले मनःपूर्वक स्वागत. जर आपली हरकत नसेल आपण प्रश्नोत्तरांना सुरुवात करूया. आपण सेंद्रिय शेती कशी सुरू केली आणि सेंद्रिय शेतकरी होण्याचा आपला प्रवास कसा होता, तसेच ही सुरुवात करण्यासाठी आपल्याला प्रेरणा कशी मिळाली?
सर, हे लहानपणापासून शेती काम माहिती होतं आणि पहिल्यापासून मी शेतीच मला माहित होतं, दुसरं काय नव्हतं माहिती. पण जोपर्यंत सेंद्रिय शेती होती, गावरान बेन होतं, तोपर्यंत कुठलेच आजार म्हणून असे कुठलेच माहीत नव्हते. कारण माझं माहेर सासर तेच गाव, कोंबाळणा गाव, आणि वडिलांच्या घरी खूप गरिबी होती. गरिबी असल्यामुळं वडिलांनी आम्हाला शेती कामं शिकवलं आणि पारंपरिक जे ज्ञान आहे हे घरातच दिलं. का घरामध्ये ज्ञान समाजात कसं बोलायचं, कसं वागायचं, कसं काम करायचं. गरिबी आली तर लाजू नाही, श्रीमंती आली तर माजू नाही, टाकीचे गाव सोसल्याशिवाय देवपणा येत नाही. चांगल्या कामात मरून निघायचं पण सरून निघायचं नाही. हे पारंपरिक शब्द मी वडिलांच्या घरीच ऐकलेले होते आणि तो एक एक शब्द मी डोक्यात साठवून ठेवला होता. आम्ही 7 बहिणी होतो. वडिलांची गरिबी असल्यामुळं माझं 12 वर्षीच लग्न झालं ह्याच गावामध्ये आणि ह्या गावामध्ये लग्न होऊन आले. इकडं पण मला सासू सासऱ्यांबरोबर मालकांबरोबर शेती कामच करायचं. पण तोपर्यंत सगळी सेंद्रिय शेती होती, गावठी बेन होतं. काही दिवसापूर्वी माझ्या शेतामध्ये हायब्रिड बेन आलं, केमिकल खतं आले, औषधं आले. तेव्हापासून माझ्याच घरामध्ये हळूहळू खूप आजार सुरू झाले. माझ्या गावाला रस्ता पण नव्हता. इथून 10 किलोमीटर 20 किलोमीटर मला पाठीची बाळं बांधून दवाखान्यात जावं लागायचं. आणि मग जाता जाता एक दिवस माझ्या डोक्यात विचार आला का आपलं बाळपण खूप कठीण होतं. म्हणजे माझं बाळपण मी 40 वर्ष गायच्या गोठ्यात प्रवास केला. 4 बाळांना जन्म गायच्या गोठ्यात दिला. संध्याकाळचं बाळ ज्याला होतं तर सकाळचे सगळे कामं मी केले, शेतातले घरातले पण सगळे कामं केले. 7 दिवसापासून बाळा पाठीची बाजू शेतात कामं केले. पण असा आजार थकवा कधीच दवा डॉक्टर कधीच आढळला नाही. आणि नंतर मला असा विचार आला का घरात आपल्या सुविधा झाल्या, एवढ्या घरात सुविधा होत गेल्या, ते तेव्हापासून आजार घरात शिरले. म्हणजे मी विचार करीत गेले, विचार करत आले दवाखान्यात. तिथून घरी आल्यावर माझ्या डोक्यात मी संध्याकाळी कुटुंब सकाळचं उठले, सगळ्या शेतीमध्ये फिरले. एके आंब्याच्या झाडाखाली बांधव बसले. बांधव बसून मी विचार केला का मला हे आजार शोधायचे होते, कुठून येतात घरात. मग हा बांधव बसून मी विचार केला आपल्या शेतीत आपण पहिलं कोणतं बी पेरीत होतो, आता कोणतं पेरीत आहे. पहिले शेतीला खत औषधं नव्हते, आता किती प्रकारचे खत देतोय, किती प्रकारचे फवारे मारतोय, किती प्रकारचा हायब्रिड बेन आणून शेतामध्ये पेरतोय. असा विचार करता करता बांधव बसून माझ्या लक्षात आलं की केमिकल खतामुळं औषधांमुळं घरात आजार सुरू झाले. मग मी ठरवलं माझ्या घरातलं बंद करायचं. संध्याकाळी कुटुंब बसवलं आणि मी लागले बोलायला केमिकल खतं औषधं करायला. मग मी थोडं तर सोनं होतं गळ्यामध्ये ते मोडलं आणि तिथून मग मुंबईला नेलं. 1.5 महिना दवाखान्यात मुंबईला होतं. मला तिथं नातेवाईकांनी मदत केली, भरपूर लोकांनी पण पैशाला मदत केली आणि 1.5 महिना दवाखान्यात होतं. त्यावेळेस मला 1.5 लाख रुपये लागले. हा परिणाम माझ्या स्वतःच्या घरात काढला आणि घरी आल्यावर मग मला पिकाची शेती ठेवावं लागले. आवताचे बैल विकले, म्हशी विकल्या, शेळ्या बकरं सगळे काय विकल्या गेले. हा माझ्या घरामध्येच हा परिणाम घडला. तिथून पुढं माझं कुटुंब मी सांगेल तसं ऐकायला लागलं. आवाज येतोय सर?
हो, येतोय.
आणि मग माझं कुटुंब मी सांगेल तसं ऐकायला लागलं. मी सगळं देशी बेलं गोळा केलं, गावरान बेलं गोळा केलं. कोणाकडून 1 बी आणली, कोणाकडून 2 आणले, कोणाकडून थोडे ते दाणे आणले. त्याचा वाढवा करून सेंद्रिय पद्धतीनं माझी मी करून खाऊ लागले. आणि त्या टायमाला पण मी ऊसतोडी कामगार होते. ऊस तोडून आले का मग इथं समाज एक लहानपणापासून समाजात चांगलं काम करायचं होतं. पण मी शिकलेली नाही, मला लिहिता वाचता येत नाही, मला माझं कोंबळला गाव सोडून कुठं जायचं पण माहित नव्हतं. मग मी ऊस तोडून आले, रोपं तयार करू लागले. त्याच्या बचत गटाला एक रोप देऊ लागले पाऊस पडल्यावर. मग हळदी कुकाचा कार्यक्रम देऊ लागले, त्याला पण मी एक रोपच देऊ लागले. माझ्याकडे पैसा नसायचा काय वाद घ्यायला. मग एक बाईक संस्था इथं बचत गटांबरोबर काम करायला आली आणि बचत गटांबरोबर काम करायला आल्यावर मी त्यांच्या मार्फत ते रोपं देऊ लागले. रोपं त्याच्या मार्फत ते बाहेर गावाला नेऊ लागले. त्याच्यामुळे मला 4 रुपये भेटू लागले त्या रोपाचे. मला अजून काम करायची थोडी ऊर्जा आली आणि रोपानिमित्त बाईक संस्थेशी माझी खूप चांगली ओळख झाली. आणि मी हे बी पाऊस पडून गेला होता, शेतात चालू होते बी लावायला. तिथं मी बी लावायला आले होते. साहेब त्यांचे 2-3 मित्र होते, ते आले, रोपानिमित्त ओळख होते का मग घराकडे वळले. मी परत डोक्यावर टोकरी घेऊन शेतात चालले होते. ते आले तर परत मागं फिरले, दारामध्ये टोकरी घेऊन गप्पा मारत बसले. मग त्यांनी मला विचारलं, मावशी कुठं चालले होत्या? म्हणलं चालेल, पाऊस पडला शेतात गेला. ते म्हणे कशा शिकत होते एवढे सांगा ना आम्हाला. म्हणले अहो हे सगळं बिये म्हणले. ते म्हणे या बियाचे नाव सांगा. तर म्हणलं एवढे कुठं तुम्हाला नाव सांगू. त्यांनी मला परत विचारलं, मावशी कोणत्या बाजारातून आणले? म्हणले नाही सर, बाजारातून नाही, हे पारंपरिक घरच आहे आणि सर्व काही गावरान आहे. मग ते मला परत विचारतात का मावशी लोक नवीन आणतात, नवीन करताय, तुम्ही काही घरच ठेवलं. मग आता जर मी परवाच तुम्हाला सांगितला हा मी त्यांना सांगितला. त्याला सांगितल्याच्या नंतर मग ते गेले. ते 3ऱ्या दिवशी परत आले. तेव्हा मी मातीच्या मडक्यातून आणि मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये चाळीत होते पेरायला. ते आल्यावर म्हणतात मावशी हे काय करतात? म्हणले सर पारंपरिक आम्ही मातीच्या मडक्यामध्ये राखेत बी ठेवतो. मग यांनी काय होतंय म्हणे, तर म्हणलं यांनी 3 वर्ष उगवून चांगली राहते आणि खाण्यासाठी आपल्याला 10 वर्षापासून टिकून राहतं, त्याची चव पण बदलेली नाही. मग हे सगळं साथीदाराने विचारून घेतलं आणि मग त्यांनी ते म्हणे मावशी तर एवढं ज्ञान आहे तर हे जगासमोर न्याय पाहिजे. मग त्याला खूप मोठी मदत दिली बचत गटाच्या माध्यमातून, बाईक संस्थेच्या माध्यमातून आणि त्याच्या मदतीने हे काम खूप लोकांपासून गेले, खूप जगापासून गेलं. मग काही लोक म्हणतात गावठीला पीक नाही, गावठीला उत्पन्न नाही. मग बचत गटाच्या माध्यमातून हे काम सुरू केलं बाईक संस्थेच्या माध्यमातून. माझ्या शेतामध्ये मग एका काडीपासून किती काड्या, एका काडीला किती फुटवा होतोय, एका दाण्यापासून किती दाणे तयार होते, एका पासून किती बी तयार होतंय. हे बचत गट, शेतकरी गट माझ्या शेतामध्ये बाईक संस्थेच्या मदतीने येऊ लागले आणि ते लोकांना दाखवायचं, त्यांना मार्गदर्शन करायचं. मी 4 जाती हायब्रिड भात लावले, 4 जाती गावठी भात लावले, सारखंच माती, सारखंच पाणी. पण रासायनिक खत कोणतंच दिलं नाही. रासायनिक खत ना दिल्यामुळं जे गावरान होते त्याला चांगले दाणे आले आणि जे हायब्रिड होते त्याला रोगी सुद्धा नाही आले. मग हा फरक मी बाईक संस्थेच्या माध्यमातून शेतकऱ्याला सगळं काही दाखवून दिलं. तिथून मग मला सरांनी खूप मोठी मदत दिली, बाईक संस्थेने खूप मोठी मदत दिली. ठिकठिकाणी आम्ही टोल लावू लागलो. टोल लावून जगावर समाजाला माहिती केली, काही मुलाखती जावं लागल्या. मग अशा याच्या कारणामुळे खूप मोठं काम झाले. मग या कामामुळे आता बरेच ठिकाणी लोक मला पण बोलवतात आणि माझ्याकडं पण शेती बघायला लोक येतात, बीन यायला येतात, बेसागरीचे मुलं येतात. आता म्हणजे मला नंतर खूप लोकांनी गवठाळे साहेब होते, बाईक संस्थेच्या मदतीनं छोट्याच्या घरात बीज बँका स्थापन केली आणि तर मला मोठी बीज बँका चंद्रकांत दादानी मोठी बीज बँका बांधून दिली. तर आता माझ्या बीज बँकेचं काम महाराष्ट्रातली ही बाईक संस्थेने पहिली बीज बँक स्थापन केली आणि या बँकेच्या माध्यमातून आता खूप लोक माझ्याकडे येतात, खूप लोक शिकायला येतात, बी न्यायला येतात, मला पण प्रत्येक ठिकाणी बोलवतात. मग माझं असं स्वप्न आहे का हे गावात प्रत्येक शेतकऱ्याच्या बांधापासून गेलं पाहिजे, प्रत्येक शेतकऱ्याने पिकवलं पाहिजे, प्रत्येक या गावात बियाचा प्रसार झाला पाहिजे. कारण हे गावात एक उन्नते सोले, कारण जुने लोक गावात खात होते तर त्यापर्यंत कुठलाच आजार नव्हते आणि आता घराघरामध्ये कॅन्सर, बीपी, शुगर, तर हे सगळं आपल्या खाण्यातून आजार आले. याला कारणीभूत फक्त केमिकल खतं आणि औषध. तर मी म्हणते प्रत्येकाने जर सेंद्रिय शेतीकडे वळलं, प्रत्येकाने गावठी गेल्याकडे वळलं, तर बरोबर मागचे जे लोक होते 105 वर्षे 107 वर्षे जगायचे आणि आता 50 ते 60 वर्षे येत नाही. मग हा प्रकार आला कुठून, कसा आला? हा मी शाळा नाही शिकले सर, पण एक निसर्गाची शाळा शिकले आणि निसर्गाची शाळा आज समाजाला सांगते. मी एक या काळ्या मातीचं नातं जोडलं आणि ह्या काळ्या मातीला कसं वाचवायचं, आपले आजार कसे दूर करायचे, हे काम बाईक संस्थेच्या माध्यमातून मी हातात धरलं, साठे सरांच्या माध्यमातून आणि हे आता प्रत्येक गावात जात आहे. तर माझं स्वप्न आहे प्रत्येक गावात एक एक बीज बँक झाली पाहिजे, प्रत्येक गावात एक एक रायबाई तयार झाली पाहिजे आणि प्रत्येकाच्या दारात शेतात परसबाग पाहिजे, प्रत्येकाच्या दारात किचन गार्डन पाहिजे आणि प्रत्येकाच्या ताटात विषमुक्त भाजी केली पाहिजे, असं माझं स्वप्न आहे सर.
खूपच छान. आधुनिक जे जीवनशैली शहरात लोक जगतात आहेत त्यांना तुम्ही काय संदेश देऊ शकाल शहरातल्या लोकांसाठी?
नाही, शहरातल्या लोकांसाठी मी तर आता मला बऱ्याच लोकांनी विरोध केला, पण तो विरोध आज खरा झालाय का माझं जे शहरात लोक आहेत हे काय खायचं आणि काय नाही खायचं हे त्यांना कळतच नाही. मग मी सांगते ज्याच्यात चमक आहे त्याच्यात धमक नाही, जे दिसायला चांगलं आहे ते आरोग्याला घातक आहे आणि शहरात जे आहेत हे पैसे देऊन विष घेतात आणि ते खातात आणि म्हणून तर कुठंतरी आजाराला बळी पडतात. आणि मग काय खायचं काय नाही खायचं हे देश त्याने ठरवलं पाहिजे. मी म्हणते 10 भाज्या खातात तर आपण 2च भाज्या खा, पण आपलं आरोग्य चांगलं ठेवा आणि त्या विषमुक्त भाज्या खाल्ल्या पाहिजे. त्याच्यासाठी हे काम गावोगाव सुरू झालं पाहिजे. आपण रानभाज्या वाचवल्या पाहिजे. आपण जे एक रानभाजी एक औषधी वनस्पती आहे, तर त्या रानभाज्या वाचवल्या पाहिजे. आपलं जे मुख्य अन्न काय खातोय, आपलं काय खाते, ज्वारी, बाजरी, भात, नागली, वरई, राळा, तूर, मठ, मूग, उडीद, हरभरा हे आपण खातच नाही ना. आपण आज नुसतं चायनाच्या मागे लागलोय. तर माझं एक सांगणं आहे का आपण चटणी भाकर खा, पण ही चायना खरोखर कोणी खाऊ नये. मला ही जो शेतकरी चायना पिकतोय ना तो स्वतः कधीच खात नाही, का तर त्याला माहीत राहतं याला किती विषारी औषधं मारतो. म्हणून शहरातल्या लोकांनी सुद्धा जे खायचं नाही खायचं तेच खाऊन राहिले शहरातले लोक आणि मुलांना पण देऊन राहिले. मुलांना नाश्त्याला म्हणलं तर आपण मॅगी बनवतो, काही कुरमुरे हे नका ना देऊ. मग आपलं जे खाते मेन अन्न तेच आपण खाल्लं पाहिजे आणि तेच भाज्या खाल्ल्या पाहिजे, तरच आपले हे आजार दूर होतील.
बरोबर. तुम्ही बीज संरक्षणाचे काम करता आणि तसेच तुमच्या जीवनशैलीमधून भारतीय संस्कृती जपताना दिसतात. परदेशी गोष्टींचं अनुकरण तुम्ही टाळता, याबद्दल तुमचं काय मत आहे?
अनुकरण तर मी टाळत असते. एक शब्द आता जसे शिक्षण घेतात मुलं, एक शब्द शिक्षणासारखा एक निसर्गातून मी एक निसर्गातून हे ज्ञान घेतले आणि हे ज्ञान पारंपरिक वडिलांकडून सासू-सासऱ्यांकडून हे ज्ञान मी एक शब्द लिहून ठेवतात हा डोक्यात साठवून तो मी माझ्या स्वतः करता त्याचा वापर केला ह्या ज्ञानाचा आणि मग समाजासाठी केला. तर हे एक ज्ञान मी तर माझ्या मनाने असं म्हणते का मला हे निसर्गाने शिकवले आणि ही निसर्गाची शाळा आज मी समाजाला सांगते. तर मी सुद्धा शिक्षण वर्गामध्ये आता मी शाळा नाही शिकले पण मोठ्या कॉलेजवर मला बोलवतात. मी सुद्धा मुलांना सांगते का तुम्ही नुसतं पुस्तकी ज्ञान नाही घेतलं पाहिजे, तुम्ही निसर्गाचं ज्ञान घेतलं पाहिजे, तुम्ही ह्या मातीचं ज्ञान घेतलं पाहिजे. आपल्याला निसर्ग वाचवायची खूप
शेवटचा प्रश्न, तरुण पिढीने आपले आयुष्य कसे जगावे असं काय वाटतं तुम्हाला? तरुणांना काय संदेश द्याल तुम्ही?
तरुणांना तर मी संदेश देते, मी मुलांना संदेश देते का तुम्ही नुसतं पुस्तकी ज्ञान घेऊ नका, तुम्ही निसर्गाचं ज्ञान घेतलं पाहिजे, आपल्या शेतीकडे वळलं पाहिजे. आता म्हणलं तर शेतीवर वर्ग सगळा नोकरी बघतो, नोकरी करून करून पैसा कोणी खाऊ शकत नाही. मग आपण नेहमी शेतीकडे वळले पाहिजे आणि ही शेती मेन आपली शेती आणि माती ही वाचवली पाहिजे. मग तरुण पिढीला मी सुद्धा सांगते का तुम्ही सुद्धा याच्यात ज्ञान घेतलं पाहिजे आणि आपला निसर्ग वाचवला पाहिजे, आपली माती वाचवली पाहिजे. तरुण पिढी आजकाल म्हणलं तर सगळी मोबाईल मध्येच आहे आणि मोबाईल तुम्ही वापरा पण टायमापुरता मोबाईल वापरा, कारण हा मोबाईल चांगला पण आहे आणि वाईटही पण आहे. मग त्याच्यामध्ये कधी वापरायचा मोबाईल हा तरुण पिढीनं जे त्यानं ठरवलं पाहिजे.
बरोबर. धन्यवाद राईबाई. राईबाई, आपल्या अनुभवामधून आणि विचारामधून आम्हाला खूप प्रेरणा मिळाली. शाश्वत शेती, बियाणांचे जतन आणि निसर्गाशी जोडलेली जीवनशैली याबद्दल आपण दिलेला संदेश खूप महत्त्वाचा आहे. स्मार्ट एन्व्हायरो सिस्टम्स परिवाराच्या वतीने आजच्या या सेलिब्रेटिंग वुमन इन सस्टेनेबिलिटी या कार्यक्रमासाठी आपण दिलेल्या वेळेबद्दल आणि मार्गदर्शनाबद्दल मनपूर्वक आभार. आपले कार्य असेच अनेक लोकांना प्रेरणा देत राहो हीच शुभेच्छा. पुन्हा एकदा धन्यवाद राहीबाई. नमस्कार.
नमस्कार. माझ्या पण एखादा शब्द वाईट गेला असेल तर तो पण मला माफ करा आणि चांगला असेल तो घराघरामध्ये घ्या आणि त्याचा पण प्रसार पुढं करा.
बरोबर, नक्कीच तुमचे
आणि सर माझ्याकडे आता 154 वाहनाचं रजिस्ट्रेशन झालं आणि माझ्या शेतामध्ये आता सध्या 19 जातीचा वाल घेवडे, 30 जातीचा भाजीपाला, 3 प्रकारचा गहू, 3 प्रकारचा हरभरा, नागरी वरई म्हणजे हे गावरान जे बिन आहे हे मी स्वतः फक्त जपलं आहे. फक्त माझ्याकडे खाण्यासाठी कोणाला देता येत नाही कारण माझं पीक सगळं वरच्या पावसावर आहे. आता सध्या सगळं वाळून गेले माझ्यावालं आणि मी म्हणते याला पाणी असतं तर मी सगळ्या शेतकऱ्याला एक आनंदानं उभे राहून कडाला उभे राहून मुलांना दाखवते, शेतकऱ्याला पीक दाखवते. आणि हे आपण एक भाजी जर की एक अशा एक दिवस एक भाजी म्हणलं तर मग 15 दिवसातून एक भाजी केली तेवढा भाजीपाला मी शेतामध्ये पिकवते. मग प्रत्येकाने जर एक 2-2 भाज्या आपल्या दारामध्ये आपल्या शेतामध्ये किंवा किचन गार्डन मध्ये पिकवल्या तर आपण खरोखर आजारापासून दूर राहू. तर प्रत्येकाने हे केलं पाहिजे आणि कुंडीमध्ये पण भाजीपाला होतो, आपल्या दारात पण एक केलं होतो. हा सगळ्यांनी केलं पाहिजे आणि शिकलं पाहिजे.
बरोबर, अगदी धन्यवाद ताई. पुन्हा भेटूया. धन्यवाद.
हो.
ओके, मला वाटतं की त्यांच्या अनुभवातून आपल्याला काही शिकायला मिळेल. आपले पुढच्या स्पीकर आहेत सोनाली फडके. I would like to introduce us. So Sonali Phadke ma'am is a partner at Studio Alternative, a Pune-based design studio known for its work in creative reuse and upcycling of material. Sonali comes with the engineering background and has deeply involved in an initiative related to ecology, environmental education, sustainable resources. Though her work at Studio Alternative, she focuses on transforming discarded material into meaningful product, spaces, and installation, and showing how the West can reimagine as a valuable resources. Please join me in welcoming Sonali Phadke to share her thoughts on sustainability and creative reuse.
Hi,
Hello, hi.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. We
So,
can.
should I
Ye-
continue talking? Can you hear me?
yes. Some of audience like you can choose both, a mix of both. Okay.
Maybe I'll continue. So I'm Sonali, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person today. I was caught up somewhere, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity that SmartEnviro has created right now, with the theme of women entrepreneurs working or women working in sustainability, basically. And it's so great to share this space with so many other wonderful people around. So I'm Sonali Phadke, and I'm the co-founder of Studio Alternatives. We are a firm working in upcycling, and our work has been. We are right there actually, near you. I'm not there today, but we work especially. Our main vertical is container homes, and we work in modifying shipping containers and making them into desirable spaces. So a lot of our early work was also in like office spaces or classrooms, but right now we work mainly in creating second homes or farmhouses. That has been a steady kind of inquiry and work for us especially. So with shipping containers, what we do is we get the old containers which are discarded from their shipping life from JNPT, and then our work is right now completely customized, where we work with the client to understand their needs, and then based on it we decide the number of containers and the layout with the containers, and that is how we create very customized work for our people. I mean, for our clients. So in the interiors also, we encourage reuse of things wherever possible, especially loose furniture. So plumbing and electrical, for safety and maintenance reasons, we are not reusing anything inside. But as much as possible, even we use a lot of old doors and windows. We encourage, like I said, old furniture, decor, and such things which can also be a part of the home. As much as possible, we try to reuse things. So container spaces are sustainable in multiple ways. One thing is that we are, first of all, the box is being reused. So the shipping container box is something which, if we did not reuse it, it would have, it has a limited life, because if it's not maintained, the steel will start to slowly rust, and over a period, it will have to go for recycling. So our philosophy, we believe, is that we have already used the material, and we have used a lot of energy to create something, and we should try to extend the life of materials that we've already created. So shipping container homes, the box is already reused. Our homes many times are tiny homes, or we promote the use of tiny homes where your footprint is not very high. So, like even in a single container, or ideally in two containers in 320 square feet, it's a comfortable space that a family of four, or even a little more, you can push in. But you can have a very functioning home with all kind of amenities inside. And when you have a tiny home, your footprint on in general reduces, so you don't spread out and make huge spaces with higher footprints. Our spaces that we make at the container, at the studio alternatives, are also movable spaces. So the thing is that the whole product, the container home, is made in our premises at the studio, and we move these containers, and then we install them on various sites. So the movability is a big aspect, where let's say, even if you don't own a piece of land and you want to live in it, tomorrow you could also move your home, which is till now an impossibility, because with brick and mortar it is not possible. So our homes are also movable. And we also try to work with the landscape, where we don't disturb the soil and other conditions much. So we will work around a space where you have ample canopy to keep the container in shade as much as possible. Also, we will try to work in a way where, since the container does not need plinth, we just need four pillars for the containers to rest. We dig up the four. The footprint of also working with the soil is very less. So I don't need to flatten the land. I don't need to do much to the landscape. I can work with the land as is. so that we don't disturb the ecosystem and the wilderness that is around it. So it's sort of, you take a small home and put it nestled inside, an existing piece of land. So this all makes the container homes quite sustainable. The major aspect also is that the end of life. So generally in a regular construction, if you see, when you don't want something right now, especially in Pune, it's quite crazy the way, we are tearing down old buildings and making up, building new ones. So with container homes, the end of life is very simply the fact that everything can go for recycling. So you don't create debris and you don't create waste that you don't have to again think about, so the end of life is defined with a container home. So this is our major work area. Apart from that, because we work in scrap and we work in the reuse of things, we also have our own scrap library where we are trying to maintain a lot of things that we throw. It could be household, it could be industrial, but we are trying to get in data on what all do we throw and whether we can have a library of things. So in during our educational activities, we already have a set of things that we can work on. So our verticals right now, though container homes is one of the major vertical, we have also been working whenever we get time to create products in upcycling. We have a lot of projects that we do, customized projects also for corporates. We have done a couple of corporates, for example, with Mercedes-Benz. We took their old tires, their barrels and pine wood, and created outdoor furniture for them. With L'Oreal, similarly, they gave us their old office furniture. We refurbished and put it back in their office. So we work with corporates and even individuals for customized orders. And we love to work also in the field of education. So the work that we are doing, we feel it should reach more and more people, and more people should get involved, especially hand skills, which right now, we just use our mobile phones and there is no hand skill in our life anymore, unfortunately. So we encourage people to come and have workshops with us where we can teach them the value of, especially the design aspect of things, where our forte is to design for circularity or to design for reuse or to design for disassembly. And while learning this, people can also make smaller objects and take them back home. So this is something that we do. And I think if anybody, if we have some question and answers right now or later, just let me know. Or if you have any questions, I think that's all from my side right now. Definitely. I Yeah, yeah. I just got your question. So the role of designers, especially. So I think it's a great start for any good sustainable design, because right now what has happened is everything that we have all been designing as humanity. Not just as individuals or in near history, but since history of materials. Unfortunately, a lot of things we design are for single use, not just plastics, but everything around us is like it's designed for one use and then you just throw it away. So we are actually in a middle of a linear economy, which has to be broken. Our economies have to get circular. And it starts with a good design, because when you design for circularity, then you know what to do with it when you don't want an object. For example, if you're using a pen and the you don't want the pen anymore, or the refill is over, or the pen is not working, as a consumer, I should not be putting much thought because I don't know what to do with it. But if you have designs where it can be designed for reuse in terms of the material, and also designers where we need systems for getting things in place in terms of circularity. So you need a lot of also support from the systems around you, which need to be designed in a way where waste is not generated. So together we have to eliminate the concept of waste. If we look at everything as raw material and things that can be reused and put back into life, then the waste itself, the concept can be challenged. So things definitely start with a good design. I hope I've answered your question.
येस मॅम, तुमचा प्रश्न असा आहे, सगळ्यांना पर्यावरणपूरक जगायचं आहे,
पण कुठून सुरुवात करायची हे बरेच लोकांना कळत नाही. सो व्हॉट स्मॉलर स्टेप लाईक एव्हरीबडी कॅन टेक ऑन डे टू डे.
Sure. So the easiest thing that we can do is segregation of waste. Right now, what we have even in our lifestyle is kasabasa. After a long time, we have reached a point where we have two bin systems. You have wet waste and dry waste. But we have to imagine that everything goes in the dry waste, and which is perpetually wrong at all levels, because then somebody else has to deal with it. So मी सगळं एकत्र टाकल्यानंतर त्याचं काय होतंय ह्याचा विचार आधीच झाला पाहिजे. And right now we have some systems in place. For example, raddi, सगळ्यांच्या घरनं raddi, putha is already going for recycling because you don't put it in garbage. You put it separately and you see to it that it goes to the raddi wala. Similarly, milk packets. Milk packets are 100% recyclable LDP material. If we all wash them and dry them and again give it to the raddi wala, it goes for recycling. So as much as possible, we have to eliminate the need of a garbage bin in our homes and see to it that things at least go to the cycles that exist. Strengthening the waste cycles is another area which maybe as individuals we can't do much, but we can at least push that things can be segregated and they go in the right waste stream or the right, especially the recycling stream of things. So भंगारवाल्यांकडे पण खूप गोष्टी जातात, त्यामुळे ते कचऱ्यात न टाकता भंगारात गेलं तर ते रिसायकलिंग तरी होईल. And as far as reuse is concerned, like we are one of the maybe, upcyclers that exist, but there's not a big market for upcycling right now. So I can't say ki, give it to people who upcycle like us because it's very limited. So as consumers also, if we can be more conscious of what we consume and what we buy, I think that will also go a long way. So prefer natural materials, organic materials, prefer reused and upcycled materials will also help the economy, bring in those materials, like the market supply and demand can be matched. And the perfect thing actually, even before being a consumer, is to question whether you need a thing. So if, as we have the 3R or the 7R theory, the first R should be about refusing and reducing our footprint. So if you don't need something and if you have 10 clothes, you don't need an 11th cloth in your cupboard, refuse buying it. So the first R should be that of refuse and reduce. So I think that's my view.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. So we really appreciate your presence. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
So our next speaker is Prachi Shevgaonkar. हॅलो प्राची, तुला आवाज येतोय? हॅलो प्राची, आवाज येतोय?
हो येतोय ना.
ओके, ग्रेट. तुझं इंट्रोडक्शन देतो ऑडियन्सला. सो आपण मराठी इंग्लिश दोन्ही लँग्वेजमध्ये बोलतोय. ओके. सो
आपले जे तिथे पर्सन लोक आहेत,
काय म्हणालीस?
इन पर्सन.
हो, येस. सो आमचे फॅक्टरी वर्कर्स आहेत, आमचे सगळे टीम आहे आणि बहुतांश मराठी विल प्रेफर. मराठीमध्ये पण चालेल बोलायला, ठीक आहे? ओके. So the introduction about Prachi. So the Prachi is someone who is inspiring the people across the world to take a simple yet powerful climate action in their everyday lives. Prachi is the founder of Cool the Globe, a global climate action initiative that encourages individuals to reduce their carbon footprint through small daily action. Through this initiative, thousands of people across different countries are taking part in a climate action and contributing towards more sustainable planet. Her work beautifully demonstrated how individual responsibility and collective actions can create a meaningful environmental impact. Her startup and work also featured on Shark Tank India. Please join me warmly welcoming Prachi Shevgaonkar to share her thoughts. Over to you, Prachi.
ओके. हाय, नमस्कार एव्हरीवन. सगळे दिसले असते तर छान वाटलं असतं आणि मला प्रत्यक्षात यायलाही आवडलं असतं, पण व्हेरी हॅपी टू बी हिअर. फार वेळात मी बोलणार नाही, आपण प्रश्न उत्तराला जास्त वेळ ठेवूया. पण अगदीच ब्रीफ द्यायचं झालं तर या सगळ्या प्रवासाची सुरुवात अशी झाली की मी जेव्हा स्टुडंट होते तेव्हा ऑफकोर्स आय स्टार्टेड हिअरिंग अ लॉट अबाउट क्लायमेट चेंज. आणि आय वंडर्ड एक हा एवढा मोठा प्रॉब्लेम आहे आणि याच्याबद्दल माझ्यासारखी एक सामान्य व्यक्ती काय करू शकते. आणि आमच्या घरामध्ये आम्ही एक चॅलेंज घेतलं. आम्ही ठरवलं की आपण स्वतःचं कार्बन फुटप्रिंट 10% कमी करून बघूया. पण ते कसं, काय वेगवेगळ्या गोष्टींमध्ये माझे सगळ्यात जास्त एमिशन्स होत आहेत ते मी कसे कमी करू शकते. मग छोटे छोटे प्रयोग घरामध्ये करायला सुरुवात केली. की प्लास्टिक रिसायकल करायला लागलो, कचऱ्याचा व्यवस्थित निचरा केला, किंवा माझं कॉलेज तेव्हा 10 किलोमीटरवर होतं तर काही दिवस सायकलने प्रवास करून बघितलाय, काही दिवस पब्लिक ट्रान्सपोर्टने. अशा छोट्या छोट्या गोष्टी ज्या सगळ्यांनाच सस्टेनेबिलिटी म्हणल्यावर आपण सगळेच करायला लागतो, अशा छोट्या छोट्या गोष्टी आधी सुरू केल्या. मग लक्षात आलं की जर मला कन्सिस्टंटली हे करत राहायचंय तर आपल्याला मोजता आलं पाहिजे की माझ्या या छोट्या कृतींनी काय फरक पडतोय. मग हे मोजायला सुरुवात केली. जसं आपण कधी कधी कॅलरीज काउंट करतो की आपल्या अन्नामध्ये किती कॅलरीज आहेत, तसंच आपल्या प्रत्येक ऍक्शन मागे किती कार्बन एमिशन्स आहेत ते मोजता येईल का. मग ते करायला लागल्यानंतर काही महिन्यांनी एक खूप इंटरेस्टिंग गोष्ट घडली. ती म्हणजे मला मजा यायला लागली. छान वाटत होतं की आपल्या लेवलला का होईना आपण काहीतरी करतोय, आणि असं वाटत होतं की आपण घरामध्ये सगळे मिळून काहीतरी गेमच खेळतोय. आणि कदाचित आम्हाला एवढी मजा येत होती म्हणून असेल, पण आजूबाजूची लोक येऊन म्हणायला लागली की तुम्ही काहीतरी वेगळं करताय आणि आम्हालाही यामध्ये सहभाग घ्यायला आवडेल. मग विचार सुरू केला की माझ्या घरामध्ये मी हा उपक्रम सुरू केलाय, त्यामध्ये जगभरातल्या वेगवेगळ्या नागरिकांना कसं आणू शकते. आणि त्यातून कूल द ग्लोब ऍप बनवायची आयडिया आली. अशी ऍप बनवायची ठरवलं ज्यातून आपल्यासारखे सामान्य नागरिक एकत्र येतील आणि आपल्या स्वतःच्या आयुष्यामध्ये छोट्या छोट्या कृती करून क्लायमेट चेंजशी लढण्यामध्ये कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन देतील. मी कॉलेजमध्येच असतानाच ऍप बनवायला सुरू केली आणि मी ग्रॅज्युएट झाले तोपर्यंत कूल द ग्लोब ऍप लॉन्च केली फ्रीमध्ये. मग लक्षात आलं की आता खरी सुरुवात आहे. आपल्याकडे ऍप आहे, पण खरी हे आहे की लोकांना पटवून द्यायचं की क्लायमेट चेंज सारख्या प्रॉब्लेम बद्दल आपणही काही करू शकतो आणि आपल्या कृतींनी फरक पडू शकतो. मग एक खूप छोट्या कॅम्पेन्स बनवायला सुरुवात केली आणि आपला मेसेज खूप सोपा होता की प्रत्येक व्यक्तीने आपलं स्वतःचं कार्बन फुटप्रिंट 10% कमी करू. मग ऍपवर आल्या आल्या प्रत्येक व्यक्तीला एक टार्गेट देतो आपण. 10% त्याचं कार्बन फुटप्रिंट कमी करायचं, मंथली अँड अॅन्युअल टार्गेट. आणि मग ते करण्यासाठी मी सकाळी उठल्यापासून रात्री झोपेपर्यंत काय छोट्या छोट्या पर्यावरणपूरक कृती आपल्या दैनंदिन आयुष्यात करू शकते ते सुद्धा कूल द ग्लोबवर दिसतं. मग ही एक अशी कॅम्पेन्स लोकांसाठी सुरू केल्या आणि खूप इंटरेस्टिंगली लोकांना आवडलं की आपण फक्त प्रॉब्लेम बद्दल बोलत नाही, तर प्रत्येक व्यक्ती समस्येचा भाग कसा होऊ शकते याबद्दल बोलतोय. त्यामुळे लोक ऍपवर येऊन स्वतःला ज्या जमतील, स्वतःला ज्या सोप्या वाटतील अशा ऍक्शन्स करायला लागले. मग एका 9 वर्षाच्या मुलीचा मला ईमेल आला. ती म्हणली की क्लायमेट चेंजशी लढण्यासाठी मी काय माझ्या आयुष्यात बदल करू शकते. आणि तिने ठरवलं की तिच्या शाळेमध्ये ती सायकलने जायला सुरुवात करेल. आणि असं करून काही महिन्यामध्ये 60 किलो कार्बन एमिशन्स कमी केल्याचं तिने ऍपवर रेकॉर्ड केलं आणि तिचं वजन होतं 20 किलो. अशाच एका 80 वर्षाच्या आजींचा पण फोन आला. त्या म्हणल्या की असं नाही की मी पब्लिक ट्रान्सपोर्ट करेन किंवा चालेन, म्हणजे एवढं मला जमणार नाही, पण मलाही यामध्ये काहीतरी करायचंय. मग त्यांच्या नातीचं लग्न होत होतं, तर लग्नामध्ये नवीन साड्या विकत घ्यायच्या ऐवजी त्यांनी स्वतःच्या लग्नातल्या साड्या परत वापरल्या आणि असं करून 15 किलो कार्बन उत्सर्जन कमी केल्याचं ऍपवर रेकॉर्ड केलं. आणि मग बघा असं दिसायला लागलं की एका ऍक्शन मधून अजून 10 लोक इन्स्पायर होतात आणि बघता बघता अगदी वर्ड ऑफ माउथ आणि लोकांनी एकमेकांना सांगून असं भरभरून प्रतिसाद मिळाला आणि आपण 25 मिलियनपेक्षा जास्त लोकांपर्यंत जगभरात पोहोचलो. आणि आता म्हणजे ही ऍप पुण्यामध्ये सुरू केली होती आणि आता बरीच वर्ष झाली खरं त्याला. पण जेव्हा सुरू केली होती तेव्हा मला आठवतं की आई मला म्हणायची की तू आणि तुझा बाबा हे दोनच लोक हे वापरणार आहेत, कारण पर्यावरणासाठी स्वतःच्या आयुष्यामध्ये बदल ही सोपी गोष्ट नाही. तर हे कोण करेल. पण खूप भरभरून प्रतिसाद मिळाला. आता 150 दिवसातून लोक ऍप वापरतायत आणि सगळ्यांनी मिळून 8 मिलियन किलोग्रॅम एवढं कार्बन एमिशन्स कमी करून दाखवलेत. आणि हा एवढे लोक स्वतःच्या आयुष्यात वापरायला लागल्यानंतर अजून एक इंटरेस्टिंग गोष्ट घडली की आपले बरेच युजर्स येऊन म्हणले की हे मी माझ्या आयुष्यात करतेय किंवा करतोय, पण माझ्या कंपनीमध्ये मला हे कसं आणता येईल, माझ्या शाळेत कसं आणता येईल, माझ्या शहरामध्ये कसं. तर म्हणून आपण एक कम्युनिटी व्हर्जन पण लॉन्च केलं. त्याच्यामधून आपण वेगवेगळ्या ऑर्गनायझेशन्स बरोबर, इव्हेंट्स बरोबर काम करायला लागलो की एका कम्युनिटी मधले लोक एकत्र येऊन मग आपण वी गेमिफाय क्लायमेट ऍक्शन फॉर देम, किंवा आपण सस्टेनेबिलिटी चॅलेंजेस ठेवतो. लोक एकमेकांची छोटे छोटे हेल्दी कॉम्पिटिशन करतात, एक लीडर बोर्ड्स असतात, लोकांना रिवॉर्ड्स मिळतात सस्टेनेबल ऍक्शन्स केल्याबद्दल. आणि आयडिया हेच आहे की सस्टेनेबिलिटी डझंट हॅव टू बी अ बर्डन. जेव्हा आपण सगळे एकत्र मिळून काहीतरी करतो, इट कॅन बी अ फन, रिवॉर्डिंग, फुलफिलिंग एक्सपिरियन्स. तर यामार्फत मग आपण जगभरातल्या वेगवेगळ्या ऑर्गनायझेशन्स बरोबर आता काम करतो. वी हेल्प देम मेक देअर वर्कफोर्स more sustainable and reduce their carbon emissions. आणि म्हणजे आता मी साधारण 10 वर्ष क्लायमेट चेंज मध्ये आता हे काम करते. आणि सुरुवात केली तेव्हा आय थिंक आय रेड समवेअर की इट्स गोइंग टू टेक अ मिरेकल टू अवॉइड द वर्स्ट इफेक्ट्स ऑफ क्लायमेट चेंज. पण आता जगभर ही घरातून सुरू केला हा उपक्रम आता जगभरातल्या लोकांपर्यंत पोहोचलाय आणि एवढे नागरिक जोडले गेलेत. त्यातून समजतं की असं नाही की लोकांना काही करायचं नाहीये. एव्हरीबडी वॉन्ट्स टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस, दे जस्ट डोंट नो व्हॉट दे कॅन डू. जेव्हा आपण लोकांना सांगू शकतो की तुम्ही काय बदल घडवून आणू शकता, तेव्हा आपण आपल्या इंडिव्हिज्युअल लेवलला सुरू केलेल्या गोष्टी पण आर ऍक्शन्स कॅन क्रिएट अ रिपल इफेक्ट फॉर लार्जर सिस्टमिक चेंजेस. सो माझ्या घरातून ही सुरुवात झाली. त्याच्यानंतर जगभरातल्या 150 देशामधले नागरिक त्यांच्या घरापर्यंत पोहोचली, त्याच्यानंतर ऑर्गनायझेशन्स पर्यंत पोहोचली, पॉलिसी लेवल पर्यंत पोहोचली. आता आपण वेगवेगळ्या सिटीज बरोबर सुद्धा काम करतो. सो आय विटनेस्ड हाऊ समथिंग दॅट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम आवर होम कॅन क्रिएट अ रिपल इफेक्ट. आणि नाव आय बिलीव्ह की आय रेड समवेअर व्हेन आय स्टार्टेड आउट दॅट इज गोइंग टू टेक अ मिरेकल टू अवॉइड द वर्स्ट इफेक्ट्स ऑफ क्लायमेट चेंज. बट today I think when people like us come together, keep doing the work we do, miracles can happen. So yes.
Barabar. I would like to ask one question to you.
Like India is rapidly developing. While we are facing a climate challenges, how do you see the India's role in the global climate movement?
So I think one of the biggest things I've realized is that we find ourselves in perhaps some of the most defining decades of human existence. And how we act today as individuals, organizations, and countries will define not just our lives, but the lives of generations to come. And that's not just a responsibility, it's a massive opportunity. The world is changing. Over the next 2 to 3 decades, we are going to reinvent how everything functions. And so people who are a part of making that shift will be leaders of the new millennium. So individuals who take climate action today are upskill themselves in climate, will see their careers thrive. Organizations who make climate and sustainability the core of their operations will be leaders. And countries who switch to green energy today stand to become the green energy capitals of the world. So भारतासाठी पण एक मॅसिव्ह ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी आहे. आता भारत आपल्या गव्हर्नमेंटमध्ये एक मिशन लाईफ म्हणून आपण सुरू केलंय, लाईफस्टाईल चेंज फॉर एन्व्हायरमेंट. आणि त्यामध्ये आपण हेच म्हणतो की सस्टेनेबिलिटी ही आपल्यासाठी काही नवीन गोष्ट नाहीये. इट्स बीन अ पार्ट ऑफ आवर कल्चर फॉर जनरेशन्स. आणि ग्लोबल एक्सपर्ट्स जे म्हणतात तीच गोष्ट आपल्या आजी आजोबा पिढ्यानपिढ्या सांगत आलेत. सो वी डोंट हॅव टू रिइन्व्हेंट द व्हील, वी जस्ट हॅव टू गो अ फ्यू जनरेशन्स बॅक. सो already sustainability is a part of our culture, and embracing that is a massive opportunity for Indian citizens to lead the way for others. We have the sun in abundance. So we had also started under the Solar Alliance something called One World, One Sun, One Grid. So if we move quickly, this is a massive opportunity for India to become a leader in renewable energy, to become a leader in green transition. We also have a massive workforce that we can skill in climate and sustainability. So we should look at it not as a burden, not, people often say that आपण अजून developing country आहोत. Other countries have become developed, and now why should we face the brunt of shifting? Why should we face the burden? But we shouldn't look at it as a burden or responsibility. As a country, we should look at it as a massive opportunity that it is. So China is already doing a lot. And they're doing it not because it's the right thing to do, but because it is a lucrative thing to do. It is a profitable thing to do, to switch and to jump on the sustainability bandwagon. So there are many opportunities for India and Indian citizens, and we should make use of this opportunity.
Prachi, one question related to the management. So we know that you follow the getting things done framework, which is very practical approach for productivity and execution. तर त्याच्याविषयी थोडक्यात तू काही बोलू शकशील?
This is an interesting question. Nobody's ever asked me this question, so I'm very happy that you asked. So for a lot of people, you see growth gradually. But for me, it was almost overnight. So I was a young student. I built the app from my dorm room, and I started making campaigns, getting people on board. Many of those campaigns went viral, really blew up. And I remember when the first time one of the challenges we were doing on the app really went viral, and people across the country were reaching out to me. So वेगवेगळे लोक येत होते, and I had a realization that it's almost like I was young student yesterday, and I became a founder overnight. So I remember thinking ki आपल्याला आता एवढा छान प्रतिसाद मिळतोय, but if I do not equip myself with the right skills to scale this, to grow this, to manage this, then this will be a one-time hit. And I want this to be sustainable. I want to grow this. I want to make this big over years. So then I started looking at tools which would help me manage and scale. And आमच्या घरी खूप पुस्तकं असायची, सो सगळीकडे अनेक पुस्तकं असायची. आय थिंक इट इज सेड अबाउट बुक्स की जेव्हा तुम्हाला गरज असते तेव्हा ते बरोबर पुस्तक तुम्हाला शोधतं. सो वी हॅड दिस बुक कॉल्ड गेटिंग थिंग्स डन. इट वॉज माय फादर्स बुक. And many years ago, he had talked to me about it, and I hadn't paid attention at that time. But when I needed it, I came across that book again, and it really taught me a lot about how do I manage this huge influx of growth that is coming my way, and how do I sustain it over a long period of time. So there are a few basic tools under getting things done. So I really spent, I was obsessed about productivity for a good 5 to 6 months, and I created a system to be productive in a way that's not stressful. And getting things done was a huge part of that. So the few basic tools in that system is the first rule is that your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. So when you're running your own thing, there are so many different kinds of inputs you are getting. You have new ideas, you have new collaborations, you have people to get back to, you have events like this that you want to attend. So how do you sometimes असं बरेचदा होतं की आपण ऑलमोस्ट झोप आली आणि अचानक काहीतरी एक गोष्ट आठवते की अरे हे करायचं होतं, किंवा आंघोळ करताना अनेक गोष्टी आठवतात. सो आपल्याला अशा अनेक गोष्टी सारख्या आठवत असतात कारण आपण त्या इथेच ठेवून दिल्या असतात. So one of the key tools of getting things done is to have one inbox. जिथे काहीही इनपुट आला, काही आयडिया आली, काही सुचलं की अरे यांना मेसेज करायचं होतं हे, तर इट शुड ऑलवेज गो इन टू दॅट इनबॉक्स राईट अवे. So I used to keep a diary. Now I have an inbox on my phone. So as soon as I think of something, it goes right away on that. It's something so simple, and yet we don't do it often. And once it goes there, then it's out of your mind. So then your mind is not burdened with having to hold your thoughts. It knows that your thoughts are in a trusted system. So once you put it in a trusted system like an inbox, then you process it. So each keyword, आता आपण त्यात keywords टाकले असतील की अरे मला हा इव्हेंट होता. So then every day I sit down to process all of the different thoughts I had the day before. And you think of, for each thing, is there a next action? And you think of the immediate next action for each of the keywords. So it can either go in next actions, or it can go in someday maybe. I don't want to do anything about it now, but it goes in someday maybe, or it can go into your notes. So you put it somewhere so that where you know and you trust that you will do something about it. And then one of the key tenets after that, once you've put all of your thoughts in an inbox and you've processed it and you've come up with next actions for all of them, and you have a context specific list for all your next action. So I used to have a context specific list according to me. आता लॅपटॉपच्या समोर आहे तर माझ्याकडे काय काय नेक्स्ट ऍक्शन्स आहेत, किंवा माझ्याकडे फोन आहे तर व्हॉट आर द नेक्स्ट ऍक्शन्स आय हॅव टू डू. बट नाव आय ऑल्सो हॅव कॉन्टेक्स्ट स्पेसिफिक लिस्ट अकॉर्डिंग टू एनर्जी लेवल्स. सो सकाळी माझ्याकडे खूप एनर्जी आहे, सो वेन आय एम ॲट माय हायेस्ट क्रिएटिव्ह ब्लॉक, what are the things I should do? When I'm feeling low energy and I don't really need that much mind power, I still have a list of actions I can do in times like this. And then the most important thing is a weekly review. Now, a weekly review is a fun time that you spend with yourself. It's a 2-hour block that I usually go to a cafe and I do. And during that block, you review your week, you review all of your actions, you review all your ongoing projects. You think of new creative ideas that excite you. That you'd like to go ahead, and it's just the time you spend with yourself where you're looking at if you're going where you want to go. And you know, these things seem very simple and basic, but if done right, it can be life changing. I mean, for me, every single milestone that I've received along the way, I started getting things done when we had about 5,000 users. Now we have more than 100,000. So including that milestone and every other milestone that I've seen in this journey of building Cool the Globe, I wrote it down in my system before it happened in reality. And I've been able to witness how the things I've wanted to जे सगळे गोल्स इमॅजिन केलेत ते खरंच होताना बघितलेत. अँड ऑल ऑफ दॅट हॅज हॅपन्ड बिकॉज I relied on a system to help me become the best version of myself. So yes, that's getting.
Great, Prachi. आपल्याकडे कमी वेळ आहे आणि you shared a lot of thought
about your product that is Cool the Globe, and we have seen a lot of coverage about your startup on Shark Tank and on YouTube, and it is doing great, and we wishing you all the best for the future of your organization, and we really appreciate your time and the energy that you bring along with you on the stage. So thank you very much for joining us, and we really appreciate your time on the behalf of SmartEnviro Systems Pune. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Our next speaker is Dr. Chhavi Mathur. Chhavi ma'am is the someone who beautifully connects science, sustainability, and community engagement. Dr. Chhavi Mathur holds PhD in biosciences from IICC Bangalore and brings international experiences. Her work bridges scientific research, community engagement through initiatives such as Water Classroom, Curious About Water, where she creates a learning spaces focused on sustainability and environment responsibility. Though her effort, she encourages people to develop a deeper understanding and respect for one of the most precious natural source, that is water. With that, I invite Dr. Chhavi Mathur to share her journey and insight with us. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me here, all the organizers, and it's been a really interesting morning seeing the kind of work you do. A little louder? Okay, is this better? Yeah, okay, close. We can go to the next slide. Yeah. So, Ajinkya mentioned, that I started my journey in experimental biosciences, and on the right hand side you will see it's my group, and the building below that is where I did my PhD in biosciences. It's in Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. During this time I also worked. I would go and work in CFTRI in Mysore, and I spent some time in University of Helsinki in Finland. After my PhD, I went to US, and there I would work either on the campus of National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, or we had two marine labs that we would work in. One was in Woods Hole, and another was in South America in Chile, where we would travel for anywhere between 15 days to 15, 20, something a month. Now what happens here is that, and today I also visited your laboratory with Prachi. Now what happens is, when you walk into a laboratory which is doing biosciences work, they all look very similar. You know, the laboratories will have chemicals in flasks, but what is different is other people. And this sort of started becoming very interesting for me, that a lot of the research and a lot of the work that happens is grounded in the socio-cultural, economic context of a place. So science, while we are talking about universal solutions and issues, science, the experimental science by itself, is also very situated, very located in where it is happening. Over time, this became very important to me, and this happened during COVID, that I was working with this, now it's an organization in the US called STEMPeers. Under the larger umbrella, we started bringing these experiences of the scientific enterprise, which is not just about the concepts, but what makes science possible through storytelling. And as you can see on the right-hand side, this side, I was always, during my travels in US, Europe, I was always visiting museums, including science museums, and understand that museums are not always these static places that you go on a school trip and then forget about it, but they can actually be dynamic spaces of learning. So around a few years after working as a scientist in India and in the US and other places, I started asking what next, and this was sort of something that kept coming up for me, that I wanted to bridge science and society. And because of my exposure with art and museums, you know, it was natural for me to look in that direction. Next slide, please. So fast forward a few years, I found myself working with water. And it was very interesting to find that just like science has these social and cultural components, so does water. While we look at water as something that we consume and as a resource, water actually weaves together several social, cultural, aesthetic, ethical questions and issues and aspects. And they can be very visible if one is looking for them. So that ways I found a lot of grounding in water. And I found myself working at a museum. This is a Living Waters Museum, which is in Pune, at ISA Pune. And the first thing that we did was we did an exhibition on Pune's waters. It's available, it's a digital, now in a digital space. Each button is a different story. And for putting up this exhibition, a lot of different kinds of people came together. We had architects, we had academics, students, artists. A lot of them came together. So what was very important to me, that the stories here are research-based, but they are communicated visually and textually, but they are actually accessible because there's a lot of visual elements to it. So like artists have gone along Mula Mutha and taken pictures there, trying to tell a story, stories which are not just about the science of it, not just about the quality of it, but what are the social aspects, what are the cultural aspects of waters around us. So this was really interesting because after Khirki, this was a very comprehensive way in which I could communicate these relationships, these larger frameworks in which something like water exists. Now this was great, but like what we wanted to do was, we were a cohort of people who were already thinking like that. How do we reach out to people who are not already thinking like that? And that's the next slide, please. Yeah, that is where the water classrooms project came up. And here, this was another interesting space where a lot of experts came in with bringing in different ways of thinking about water. Some of them were also, they had contributed to the exhibition also. But this time we brought on educators and also school students. So school students were not just the recipients, but they were, what they did was also adding to the teaching resources that we were building. So this was again some 30 people who came together for about a year and a half to develop the multiple resources here. There's a whole set of teaching resources and some other things. If you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, I forgot to mention this. This work was also done in collaboration between Living Waters Museum, IISER Pune, IHS in Bangalore, and Center for Environment Education, and some other spaces also. So, and this particular framework, this was developed in collaboration with Dr. Sarah Ahmed, where we start with water and the self. Where is water in my life? And then we start zooming out. We talk about water in our communities. And when we talk about water in our communities, we start talking about access, about discriminations, but also about celebration of water. And then we move on to larger systems like agriculture, energy, waste, water, and then finally we move on to the planet. This is sort of a structure, framework that we built this with. As you can see, no one person can do this whole thing, right? So we had to have several people from several fields come in and contribute to this. And then we had some students come in and we worked with them. Also, working with the museum space as well, made this entire space very activity and art based. A lot of communication was not just textual, it was very activity based. It was with art, it became more student centered. It was an inquiry based space where we were asking more questions and telling things. So it was that sort of a space. And what started happening, and I just realized during the talks and actually being here, is that what this kind of framework allows you to do is you start seeing water not as an entity, not as a resource, but as a system. Okay? And all of you, you work in different spaces in production. You understand stocks and flows and how supply chain, how it works in systems thinking. So we started applying we were able to apply similar sense on water. And actually even scientists look at water, when they study water through system thinking, they see them as stocks and flows. So we started bringing that sensibility. And we had, students come up and say, I didn't know that water and gender could be, taught in the same class, that they are related. Or when we did the water and energy session, when we spoke about the dams, students were not just talking about how much water we needed to drink. We said, okay, you're engineers, some of you are engineers. What would you want to take care of when you're building a dam? If you have a project, you have to build a dam. So they started talking about questions of biodiversity, of migration, of livelihoods which are associated with the river in a certain space. So students started seeing water not just as a resource, but as a system which has these different, aspects to it. Now, one thing was to sort of identify these aspects. The other thing about systems thinking is how are these connected, and what are the loops? How do they loop? And so when we asked them to draw in several of these, each of this is like a 1.5 hour of engagement, and we would very often ask them to draw what do they think. And so next slide, please. And I have a few examples where when we just asked where does your water come from, and the student made this sort of a closed loop, where largely a closed loop where from somewhere an abstract place water is coming, and then it just circulates between my house and the water treatment plant and the water management, and it just circulates. Then once we had the session, you see how many more elements come up for the student, the natural elements, the human-made elements, even the governance element, the PMC also came into this, and how many arrows were drawn. There were so many connections the student was able to make as compared to before. Also the abstractness of somewhere the water is coming into my house went away. The students started talking about rains and groundwater, hills. So we saw, we can, with art we're actually able to see this come. Next slide, please. So when we were trying to do the climate, we thought you have to do the water cycle, no? And water cycle by itself is a stock and flow, has a stock and flow concept integrated. So on the left-hand side over there is what when students were signing up, we asked them to draw the water cycle, and this is what we see in books, and this is what students draw, precipitation, condensation. And since climate came much later, and we actually introduced them to stocks and flows also. On the right-hand side, you will see in the water cycle, people start coming. हम नहीं सोचते हैं कि हम भी एक वाटर साइकिल का ही पार्ट है. पानी हमसे आता है, हमसे जाता है, पर हम इस बारे में सोचते नहीं हैं. और भी मैं सेशंस करती हूँ तो लोग उस पर रुक जाते हैं कि अच्छा एक बर्ड में पानी चला गया, मेरे में पानी चला गया, फिर रुक जाती है वहाँ पे. But that doesn't happen. The water flows through us as well, right? So then trees. In that one, actually, a student brought in wastewater. How the wastewater goes back into our rivers. And the one here, the dam actually becomes a part of the water cycle because the size of the dam, the evaporation in the area changes. And that also actually, depending on the size, it can actually affect your local weather. So we start seeing these nuances come in their understanding of water. So we did an exhibition of learning with the students at ISER and also at Zapurza Museum of Art and Culture. Some of you may be aware. This was actually a nice outside space next to the Khadakwasla Dam, and we had a lot of students come here as well. Next slide, please. And currently we are, so I'm consulting for a museum in Burkina Faso in West Africa. They're also a water museum, and they want to develop a more systematic water education program. This is under a larger project which is where ISER Pune is a part and Living Waters is a part. It's called Aquamuse. Next slide, please. And this is the other side of the work that I do, other than the consulting projects. So I have this initiative called Curious About Water, and we do this very simple thing where we use water as a building point to develop this sense of systems thinking, and personal connection, and sustainable action which is rooted in care. So next slide, please. Sorry, previous slide. Just a little bit about next. So it's done by different kinds of workshops that we try to do, and with schools, organizations, but also independently also I reach out to people. Next slide, please. So as you can see, we do it online, we do it offline. We started this work with children, but realized it's just as possible to do this with the adults because the gap is not much between adults and children. So we actually started doing it with adults as well. And the modality is that we start with where water is important to you. Where do we see water? That is very important for me. Where does it exist in your lived experience? How do you connect with it? And then how do you map it to the larger, to the local system, and then local system around you, and then also to the global system around you. And from there, and all of this we do either through poetry, art, activities. You can see people are on the ground, building stuff. And eventually, I invite people to define their own action. Like we ask, what should I do? What should I do? By the time we are through with a couple of hours of this, I invite people to build their own stories of their own water and water drops. And we do what we call as a zine very often, which is a small storybook we create out of an A4 sheet. And in the next, so this is a few examples when we see things change. So the same group of people, when they make their zines, these are the two are the last pages of that storybook. One is in the middle. So the first child, for him, what is important is the waste next to the rivers. So this is not me telling that child that this is important. This is the child going and finding this in his own experience, where he would have seen, and then it becomes a point of action. It becomes an anchor that you can then do more for. The second one is an adult who has actually worked in laboratories, and now is wondering where is this water coming from? What are the pipes? And then what all goes into the water when it goes out? So that sort of churning, begins. And the last one is, you can see it reads, I will never pluck a flower. This was a child who, when I said, write your story, said, I want to write a story about a drop, one drop of water on a rose flower. And her action at the end was, I will not pluck that flower. That's my way for caring for that one drop. So from water, you actually go to conserving forests in a larger. It starts with that caring for that one drop, that drop is important for me. So I think that's it. Next slide. So I do this in several spaces, in museums, festivals, institute or independent workshops also, and I take it to conferences. Next slide, please. That might probably be the last one. So and I'm happy to collaborate. I heard some people, even panelists, talk about education, so I'm also happy to collaborate. And you can also have your team has my contacts. So, thank you very much.
I did Pani Jeevan Hai, water is life, and that's the basis on which the entire civilization got developed around the places where the water was. My question was connected with the Pune waterfront project, How do you look at it? Because that will look good from a distance, but really is it going to help the water flowing in the Bulamuta river? I just wanted to ask you from your experiences, please.
Water in the river is not the only water there. The rivers have a wetland around it. There's a moisture around the rivers. They're the riparian zones. And these are, one, very rich in that very specific kind of biodiversity. They're responsible for, or rather they take care of cleaning water. Right? A lot of cleaning of water also happens through these greener spaces which are alongside water bodies before they're cemented. The moment you put cement, a lot of that goes away. And you basically break a system that the water is part of. And any time in a supply chain, if you break a system, it's going to suffer. So a lot of these river development projects are not able to take that into consideration as to the relationships that they break. Because sustainability by itself is not just a technical fix or a scientific fix alone, or an aesthetic fix in this case. It is a relational issue. What are the relations? If you break the idea is that we have broken so many relations, and this is exactly what we do with riverfront projects, where we cement the sides of the spaces. Other than that, the cities are. It's done under the sense that we are trying to reconnect with water. We are trying to give this space to reconnect with water. But if we are losing a relation and trying to build a new one, and that doesn't seem to look.
Any simple step that anyone from the group can take as an initiative, as a water responsibility? Simple, like in general public can do and take action.
I would say one is recognizing water in your spaces. So when we do a larger time workshops, one of the things that we do is ask students, how much water do you think you use? And the answer is like 10 liters. And then when they calculate, it's over 100, over 200, over 500, depending on how water privileged you are. And I've seen students not willing to finish calculations because they're so stumped. So I think that awareness in your own lives is where you start. And like I said, depending on your experience, you decide your way forward. And also that water doesn't stop at us. I mean, the whole system is so important.
Thank you, ma'am, for the insights and your presentation and for your presence. So we will move to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Reshma Kulkarni, ma'am, a professional working at the intersection of artificial intelligence, inclusive innovation, and social impact. रेश्मा कुलकर्णी मॅडम या स्मार्ट एन्व्हायरो सिस्टमचे संचालक श्री दीपक कुलकर्णी यांच्या कन्या आहेत. रेश्मा कुलकर्णी ma'am has contributed to the research on how a generative AI and intelligent infrastructure can design responsibly to address social challenges. Her work was recently showcased at India AI Summit 2026, where she presented AI application for smart coaching, an innovative sanitary napkin disposal and treatment machine developed by SmartEnviro Systems Private Limited. The app promotes menstrual hygiene awareness, provides chatbot support, helps users to locate the machines for the safe disposal, as well as sanitary pad dispensers. Please join me in warmly welcoming Reshma Kulkarni ma'am to share her thoughts with us.
Good afternoon. afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me at the back?
Yes.
First of all, thank you, SmartEnviro Systems, for inviting me here. And I'm truly humbled to share this stage with inspiring women across different fields. So, so let me begin. So let me begin by asking you a question. How comfortably do you talk about menstruation in your circles today? I see some eyebrows going up, so I think the answer is no. And honestly, it's the same for me. In my family or my circle of friends, that conversation has never come up. In fact, if you go and ask anyone at my home what sanitary products I use, they wouldn't know, let alone knowing how I dispose of them, right? So it's interesting when you think about it. The world has advanced so much, right, in all the fields, technology, healthcare, manufacturing, you just name it. We call ourselves a progressive and a liberal society, but when it comes to menstruation, the discussions are still behind closed doors. It's not like it's a taboo or anything, but it's a very guarded and very private topic for a lot of women. And this is not just in India, it's across the globe. So although it's such a natural biological process, it carries a lot of stigma, there's a lot of silence around it, there's misinformation, right? There are so many women, there are so many communities which lack basic infrastructure. So how many times as women have you avoided going to certain events or participating in activity just because you're not sure what the arrangements there would be? Would there be would you be able to manage menstrual hygiene? Would you have a safe space for disposal of sanitary products, right? So these unanswered questions have larger consequences. I've seen that even young girls, they are ashamed to ask questions around menstruation. So this is sort of our failure as a society, right? There are a lot of institutions which don't have sanitary disposal facilities. So this is again an infrastructure failure. And our policymakers, I don't think they even have a good plan for sanitation around cities. So that's a total governance failure. And as a mother, this concerns me a lot. I wouldn't want my daughter to go through this confusion and embarrassment while she's learning about her body and changing into an adult. So how do we make that happen, right? So we need some change. So big or small, I don't think that matters, but change is important and that change has to be done today. So we are living in a defining era at the moment. You see artificial intelligence shaping all aspects of our lives, be it education, infrastructure, healthcare, manufacturing, you just name it. So imagine this, right? So a girl has access to confidential information, which is judgment-free and expert-validated information on menstrual health. So how cool would that be? And not just that, in her own language, whenever she needs it, at her fingertips. So working in the field of AI for several years, what I feel strongly is that any AI solution should have a purpose, right? You should not just force fit AI into any process. And that purpose should be aligned with greater good of humanity. So with this very philosophy, Cogent AI was born, okay? So we were very conscious about designing this product because we knew that, people wanted privacy. We didn't want to, exploit sensitive health data of women. We also didn't want any algorithmic biases to be introduced in that. Moreover, we didn't want the solution only to be available to the privileged, highly connected urban citizens, right? So what we came up with is a Gen AI mobile application. It's basically a conversational AI interface where women can ask questions about menstrual health and in their own language. Currently it supports Hindi, Marathi and English. It's private, it maintains anonymity. Not just that, it also educates women about best practices in menstrual hygiene and safe disposal of sanitary products. It also gives you the ability to find your nearest disposal machine or even a sanitary pad dispenser. It may seem little, but access to this kind of information will slowly change the mindset. People will start adopting best practices in menstrual hygiene and sanitation. So this platform is not just for girls and women, it's for the stakeholders who can actually manage the usage of their machines which are deployed on the field in real time. The facility managers also get real-time monitoring of the health of the machine. They can see if, smart cogen is stuck while disposing of a pad, or if a dispenser machine has a very low count of pads and so on, right? So in the pilots that we conducted, we saw that young women started asking a lot of questions. Of course, they love technology, but I think what was more attractive was this is private and safe. So their curiosity surfaced. The questions that they wouldn't even ask their sisters or friends or moms, they could ask the chatbot. And they knew that they were going to get verified answers from good resources, right? Yeah, so that's what we saw, and because of this, what we think, once the usage increases, the stigma will slowly reduce and the participation in such talks would become a little more open, and the participation will increase. And that shift from silence to engagement will be truly transformative, right? We right now are in a pivotal moment of global transformation. There are nations heavily investing in digital infrastructure. In fact, our plan to build smart cities has that on the top priority. There are AI policies being developed. In fact, the governance frameworks themselves are being reshaped. So I think this is the right opportunity for us to embed these ideas at the very base of these foundation systems and not as an afterthought. So Smart Cogen did exactly that, and they sowed the seed of gender empowerment at the India AI Impact Summit, which was conducted last month. And it was very well received by UN Women. So it's not that this journey is easy, right? We have seen a lot of resistance in this journey, not because of the use of the technology, but just the conversation around it. So what I feel is that just building a great engineering solution is not important. The community orientation is equally important in this process. And I feel like the future of AI doesn't really lie in algorithms or models. It really lies in the outcomes that are seen. And outcomes like where a girl in any part of the world feeling seen, supported, and respected by all the designs, the system designed for her, I think then that's a true win. So I feel on this International Women's Day, we should commit to building such a future together. And I want to congratulate Smart Cogen on building such a great product for women. Thank you so much.
So the question is for both of you. So what advice would you give to young women who are aspiring to enter a tech and AI field, and same with the scientific research?
Yeah, for young women who are entering the tech field, I would say that the technology landscape changes every so many years. So don't focus on being an expert in a specific tool or a specific language. Um, just focus on problem solving, logical thinking, and try to get the bigger picture of what you are trying to solve. And if it actually aligns with real world problems, then I think that's golden.
So I think something similar, both when I do sessions on what it means to be a scientist, or when the last slide that I showed with the Z's, what has really stood out for me over time is how do we define a problem really matters. And even for, this is for the young women, but it's for everyone. That, like for example, when I was doing my PhD thesis, just defining a problem takes you 2 to 3 years. And it requires engagement in different ways. It requires you to engage with the literature, it requires you to engage with people, it requires you to experiment. It's important that while problem solving is a goal, problem defining, and also in the space of sustainability, defining it from different perspectives which are not just scientific, because like I said, science is rooted in the socio-cultural spaces that we are in. So where, what is that your science is bringing to the world? Those questions are important to keep in mind. So I think, for me, problem defining has been such a, holistically has been a major learning. I hope to pass that.
So our last speaker for this event is architect Simran Channa. Simran Channa is the someone. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, so the introduction for ma'am. She's an architect who works at the intersection of community design and sustainability. Simran Channa ma'am is the core member of Dhammada collective. It is an interdisciplinary design collective that focuses on community architecture, research, natural building practices. She completed her graduation from NIT. Through her work, Simran explores how thoughtful design can positively impact communities while promoting environmental responsibility and sustainable living. Please join me warmly welcoming Simran Channa to share her insights with us.
Hello everyone. Hi, thank you SmartEnviro Systems for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity to share it with other smart ladies, smart and powerful ladies on the panel. So today I will be sharing few of Dhammada collective projects, and through which I can tell you like what we do and how we do. So let me share my screen. My screen is visible? Okay. So, Dhammada Collective, I joined Dhammada Collective in 2021, just after, I think, Malaysia and Nippon. So, Nippon is I'll just tell you the brief about what Dhammada Collective is. We are basically community design collective that works towards participatory design and documentation of traditional building techniques, natural building materials, sustainable architecture. We basically aim towards creating functional space that are, environmentally conscious and socially responsible. So Nipun is the founder of it. Soon after, Nilesh joined him, and then I joined him with the same cause. So so after joining him, few of the projects that I work with him, I'm going to share a few of them with you guys. So this is MPTB Homestays project. So as soon as I joined him, I was involved in this project of designing homestays in rural Madhya Pradesh, which Punashala Foundation is actually leading. And with them, we are working on this with the opportunity that we went to different villages and documented their houses and culture. So these are the few images from our site visits.
Next slide. Okay, so basically the brief was to develop over 50 rural homestays across 9 different villages. And currently we are now working in 11 villages of Madhya Pradesh districts, which is Sihor, Raisen, Chhindwara. And we are developing these homestays with the local communities for MP Tourism Board. So with these key elements, these are the main ideas basically as a facilitator that we follow. So basically channelizing our economy to the rural areas, using and promoting the locally available materials, and then look into the problem solving problems and the issues that are there and solve them, and then obviously document the whole the houses and the culture. So these are the few site images. We simply basically catalog these indigenous houses, and we learn from the local masons, and we document these regional building practices that are actively a risk of disappearing. So we basically document through sketches, through photographs. So these are few sketches that we did, understanding their structural systems, their local materials. So these are the images from the Sihor district. So they use brick and mud mortar with the timber frame structure along with the Kavelu tiles, or the Mangalore tiles as we say now. Again, this is from the Sihor districts, how we kind of document this. At the same time, we also document through upcoming technology. So basically, in short time, how can we document the whole house? So we use this photogrammetry method. So through LiDAR scan, we kind of document the whole house. So in like little time we can do that. And when you go back home, if you like miss something, like, oh my god, what kind of what furniture, what objects were there, you can just look through this 3D, and you can just revisit them. So it's also our idea of documenting now we have incorporated in the process. So after documenting, then we sit on the designs and develop models. So we make these physical models and go to the community. We talk to them and we discuss the design possibilities, how we are thinking their houses could be. Yeah, these are few images that where we stick the sheets on the wall of the community, like houses, and we call everyone and just explain our design, that what we thought, and so yeah. So after documenting and after discussing with them and taking inputs from the community, we develop our designs into like proper sketches and drawings, 3D models. So also how to communicate them, it's very essential. So even if we are designing let's say doors or little elements, we always have some references for them, that and these reference photos are actually from the villages itself. So So this is how we kind of go on, like after the design is like picked, the construction phase starts. This is from the Chinwara district. These are few completed designs. This is from the Raisen district. So in this we have reused the bricks. So basically the beneficiary had a house which he demolished it, and so we kind of took all those bricks and rebuilt the whole thing with the same bricks. So it's with brick and mud mortar along with the timber structure and Kavelu tiles. So one more, it's there in the Sihor district, which is Bilkisganj, again with the same construction technique. And there are a few other homestays that are already built. So this one is in the Raisen. So there you will see stone construction a lot. So we incorporated the same method, and they were kind of very comfortable in, because they know the technique. So yeah, they build it themselves. So yes, so these are the few homestays that are already built. So apart from the structure, we also kind of try to incorporate, the local materials, available materials in the furniture itself. So this one, so when we went to the beneficiary, he said that he has a lot of बल्लियां kept. So बल्ली is basically a wooden post जो हम घर की छतों में लगाते हैं. So the house that they kind of demolished it. So from there, we kind of reuse those ballis to make their beds. So the idea of, कि हम जब सोने जाते हैं तो what are the things that we usually have? So किताबें हो गई, like चश्मा, mobile phone or gehne. So we kind of designed it very creatively that in those creases and punctures, we kind of incorporated all of these things. So these are actually built by them. So in their family, there was one carpenter and he built it. So these are the few images. Similarly, we built one a chair also in which there was a rotating bag. So with that rotating bag, they were like quite excited to to make this. So now the next project, it's quite interesting. So this is basically a Kukla school. This is actually a perfect example to show you what is unlearning looks like in practice. So this Kukla village is there in Himalayan district of Mandi. It's a small village about 14 kilometers from Mandi city. So in 2023, devastating like landslide happened and which destroyed the original primary school. So the children were left without the safe place to learn, and they were moved to a temple, which was, and they were actually functioning from there temporarily. So this was the destruction that happened, and we can see like the slab of the previous school, and actually it was built in a valley. So when that landslide happened, it took all the whole building towards the river. So this project was actually commissioned by SEEDS and PwC India Foundation and to reconstruct it. So, but from the start, we knew that, it is not just about dropping a new building. So we kind of studied the context, local technologies, practices, materials, and even colors, in fact. So this is the oldest house in the Kukla village. And it's a very simple structure. It's basically a dry stone masonry with the stone, with timber main frame, and you have slates on top for the roof. So taking cues from already what is there existed. So this is also one a house that was kind of destroyed during the landslide. So this is also like made out of dry stone masonry. So after documenting and learning around local structure, about the local structures and materials. We did a very small exercise, and before drawing any single plan, we wanted to sit down with teachers and local leaders, and we wanted to understand like what. So we did one small exercise with the children. In that, we just told them, just draw your school, just imagine your ideal school, and this is what the outcome came. It's kind of interesting that you see little pots like flower, and then there's a small tap on top. Yeah, and these are the outcomes. The idea of mountains behind the school building. So it was quite interesting. It was really necessary to break the ice with the children, and in fact with the teachers as well. So after realizing, after understanding the context very well, so there was this existing retaining wall which was there. So firstly, the brief was to make five classroom building, and we didn't want to like spread it all around. So what we did was, let's have three buildings in the ground floor, three classrooms in the ground floor, and on top of it we have another two, so that we can have the maximum space in front, so that the children can actually have a playground. Because in the surrounding neighborhood, you will not see any this big flat land. So we took that retaining wall into consideration, and we tried to shift our the whole building to the retaining wall, and we kind of used it as a corridor instead of making a new one. So this was the whole process. Sorry. So we made the buildable area, had an access to the retaining wall, prepared a plinth, and plinth had to be playful, so we create little punctures in them. And the bottom part is basically solid, and then we have a lighter structure, which is the metal structure. So this is how the whole concept is, and this is how it looks right now. So this is the building. It's where it's. So this is a plan. So here also we try to incorporate a lot of design elements like storage in the wall itself, which also gives the stability. And the fifth classroom was actually like a semi-open space. So it became like a very multifunctional space, which extends to the Maidan and also the internal courtyard. So the initial idea was to have a very strong base with probably like this dry stone masonry, and then on top of it we have a very lighter structure with the metal. But then it got transformed with a lot of things, like we were fixed with time, and then availability of material, and also the craftsmanship. So instead of building whole building with the dry stone masonry, what we did, we did get brick because it's easier and faster construction, but we also try to incorporate all the waste construction and demolition waste into the plinth. So the plinth became comes from the dry stone masonry and the construction waste, and on top it's brick masonry sits, and on top of it it's the lighter construction, which is the metal construction. So when we were explaining our design also, it was quite difficult to tell them, we will have one internal courtyard also, and then between the two parts. So we tried explaining them with the VR. So VR is basically you can simply use augmented reality, and you can actually, with these goggles, you can actually see the model on site. So when people of the villages actually saw them, saw the whole design, they were quite convinced. Initially, they were quite reluctant to, waste the space for the internal courtyard. But after they saw it in the augmented reality, they were quite convinced through it. So this is when it was a construction phase with the brick masonry, and the plinth was already built. So I'll just skip fast because we are running on time, as said by Ajinkya. Okay, so finally I show you some pictures of how it looked later. So this is the shallow dome technique that we kind of incorporated in the design, and like the villagers were quite excited to see this kind of roofing system in the neighborhood. So these are the classrooms. This is the front, how it looks now. Yeah. Next project I would like to talk about is PMAYG, which we are currently working on. I will quite like skip it through. So basically, when you actually ask AI that what Indian rural houses look like, this is like the ideal image. But instead, you will see these kind of houses, basically the concrete boxes. Like the old houses are actually replaced with the concrete boxes. Like in this photograph, the plinth was old, but the construction inside is the new with the concrete stuff. So what we are actually currently doing is we are invited by the government, and we are currently working on 8 districts of again MP and making prototypes of it. So we are actually going in every district and documenting again their traditional houses. These are the sketches and photographs from Ujjain district, and we are kind of cataloging them into what kind of structure systems are present, roofing systems, what kind of storages and niches do they have. So we are doing all built-in elements. So one problem that we found was they don't have in the newer structure what PMAYG currently is doing, they don't have spaces for storage. So and ultimately their space looks very cramped up. So we are kind of finding out the solutions of solving their storage issues. At the same time, the structure has to be climate responsive. So government is right now interested in CSCB blocks, which is compressed stabilized earth blocks. So this particular image that you see, it's from Gwalior. So Gwalior, we saw this kind of structure system with the stone. So we already have built 2 prototypes, which is one is in Bhopal and the other one is in Indore. And basically, each unit is different and focuses on solving issues like storage and unique issues of the site as well. So after building it, we are also like want to spread this thing to like larger audience. So we have converted these into a panels of 2 to 3 sheets, where we are talking about elements and we are talking about kit of parts, because we know since when you're kind of replicating this same prototype, your the context is different, the site layout might be different, but you can actually copy the elements if they like it. So few elements I'll talk about it. For example, this bay window that we have. So this is the idea of incorporating extra seating in the wall itself. With the same, local materials. For example, in the rice in the district, Bhopal district, we have stone. So along with the CSCB, we are using stone as well. So something like this we have, and we are also kind of generating these drawings so that we can spread it across. Something like Pandari, which is a place for water. So we are keeping all of the cultural elements as well in their houses so that they relate to it. Next. Then a few elements like staircase. This one, I'll just share the video. So basically the idea was to design one element which is very multifunctional as well. So it becomes the storage, also it becomes the commutation from to go up as well. Then we talk about the materials as well, that what all materials have gone into this prototype, so that people are informed and they can incorporate that. So for example, we have incorporated waste stone material from the cuttings and everything to give it a flooring for the veranda. Then in the kitchen, for example, we have added waste ceramic tiles. So we have given the backdrop, the dado basically from the waste ceramic tiles. So these little ideas we hope that people see and observe, and then they can take back home and they try to incorporate in their house as well. So these are the final images. So apart from this, we also try to make one comic, which we gonna make it open source, where we talk about that the queries related to the prototype if they have. So it's just like through simple graphics and answers we have done that. So similar thing we have done in Indore as well. I'll just quickly skip it because I think we don't have much time. So this is how it looks right now. So instead of the Kavelu tile, we have it's similar layout but with jack arches and vault, so that you can go vertical as well. So thank you for your kind attention.
I have one question for you. So we expect a short answer on that. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face when implementing a sustainable design in communities, and how do you overcome them?
Communities, so their aspirations are quite different, which we kind of face it. So their aspirations are to build with concrete, like glass, which in turn impacts, the house becomes very unbearable to live in, even though they say it, but still the aspiration is to build something like that. The idea is to tell them, understand their problems. So what we do, we sit down, we discuss the things, we ask them, what are the maintenance issues that you face, and we try to incorporate, we try to solve them by adding our some ideas which helps them make it more durable and maintainable. So yeah this is how kind of we are kind of dealing with it. We know that their aspirations can't be changed in one go, but sitting down with them, educating them, telling them, see this house we made with these traditional materials, but it's functioning well. So that's how they kind of understand now when we are actually going on.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate your presence. Thank you for joining us from.
Thank you.
Thank you. Closing with our speaker. Kulkarni sir, to share his thoughts, like as we have implemented
Installed more than 1,200 machines across India and abroad, and we created a decentralized waste management, like capacity around 300 tons per day. Like we created the infrastructure decentralized. So I would like you to share some views, like how the SmartEnviro is helping the community and the people in India and abroad with the mission that conversion of organic waste, and how it is making sense in like sustainability wise.
Thank you. First of all, let me extend mine and my company's best wishes to all the women in the world on the auspicious occasion of Women's Day, which is going to be on tomorrow or 8th of March. In fact, I don't believe that there should be any one single Women's Day, because every day is Women's Day, frankly speaking, from my personal experience and from the experience all around. Okay, we had very wonderful speakers giving their experiences and ideas. on various aspects of sustainability, and we are also doing a little in terms of sustaining this earth. See, basically, when we started way back in the waste management, we focused mainly on the organic waste management, because that was the one which was causing a lot of problems in the, particularly in the cities, because that organic waste is the one which biodegrades if it just left open, and then you have problems like rodents, you have problems like mosquitoes, flies, and they all spread diseases. That's the whole problem, and it also gives very bad odor. So the worst part of garbage is the organic waste, which creates bad odor. Of course, now the other most important problem is the plastic waste, which is not biodegradable. But then we thought that let us attack something which was very immediate. And way back, we started working on it. And myself and my other partner, Mr. Dinesh Ganeshwade, we worked on various aspects of waste management, how to go about it, what is the best way to do treat this waste. I earlier had experience in centralized waste management, converting organic waste to biogas. And unfortunately, the projects were technically very good, but commercially not making sense. And most of the projects in India from the year 94 till today have failed to actually work satisfactorily. That is, commercially they are not very viable. That is the whole problem. So most of the projects started and failed. So then the idea came that there is no point in working on these large projects, so we thought of going in for decentralized projects, which is a small capacity machines or capacity systems which can treat the domestic waste. Actually, we wanted to develop a domestic waste conversion to compost machine, but unfortunately, that's available abroad, but in India the costs are not very attractive, and we didn't find much market for this. So we thought that the best way to go about is to go for a slightly bigger machine, say like 25 kgs per day of organic waste. And then we are now developed up to about 2 tons per day of organic waste conversion to compost. See, the biogas projects are all very good when you have about 50 tons, 100 tons of waste. Then you get sufficient quantity of biogas, and then you can produce compressed biogas and all the power. So that becomes more economically a little more viable than this one. So the easiest way was to convert this organic waste into compost. And compost is like we are recycling organic waste, converting to compost is like we are recycling the whole constituents or the composition of the waste back to the soil, because it has come from the soil. All the organic waste which is generated actually comes from the soil. We use it, we eat it, we waste it, and it should go back to the soil. So that really helps the entire carbon cycle. So we thought that is the best way to do it. So we started developing a machine, and we had some ideas. We had seen some machines here and there, and then we, on our own, we developed this various machines, and then we converted into systems actually. And we had actually the speciality of our SmartEnviro systems is that we do design, engineering, manufacture, supply, erection, commissioning, and operation. All the, from end to end, we give end-to-end solutions for all these from the organic waste management problems. That is the specialty of it. Right now, today we have got more than about 1,400 to 1,500 installations all over the country and abroad. You will be surprised that everyone imports machinery and equipments and chemicals from China, but we exported one machine to Beijing. That was one of the best things. In fact, we had exported one machine to Pakistan also, but after that we had very bad relations with Pakistan, so we stopped that particular corridor. But we have machines in various places. In India, we have right from Gram Panchayats located in Himachal Pradesh. We have what 40 machines there, more than 40 machines for Gram Panchayats. And right up to the Indore Municipal Corporation, which is supposed to be the cleanest city in the country. And of course, Pune, we have more than 300 to 400 machines. Mumbai, Delhi, NCR region, you name it, and all over the country we have machines installed there, and they're working successfully. So that is our story, and in matter of about 12 years, we have come from startup to now we are a part of small scale industry. We like to grow, and we want to cater, want to stick to this decentralized waste management, because that is the one which helps the society at large. And the centralized waste management has a problem that you have to collect the waste from the entire community and take it at a single location, which also creates a lot of problems on the way. Like during transportation, you have a lot of emissions and the handling problems and the odor problems and all kinds of problems. And then there is no land available, particularly in the cities. Like you have seen in all the cities. In Pune, we keep on shifting our garbage depots. In Delhi also the same thing happened. In even Mumbai also they had a major problem of the landfill. So all these landfill spaces are completely occupied now, and there is no land available. And as you go away from the city, the villagers around that place or the people living around that, they oppose it, and then the whole project goes to Supreme Court and all that, and it gets stuck up. So I think our decentralized waste management has really become popular. And fortunately for us, after our Honorable Prime Minister started a Swachh Bharat mission way back in 2015, there was sudden interest shown, and he has included this decentralized waste management system in his Swachh Bharat mission. And thereafter, of course, in 2016, there was an act also which was modified from the earlier act, and it made it compulsory for all the bulk generators, that is those who are generating more than 100 kilograms of waste, organic waste per day, to have the waste management facility in their own premises. That has really helped us and the community at large. So that a lot of decentralized waste management plants are coming all over the country. And I think that is the future as we think think that we have a lot of work to do in this. And on the side of it, we also started developing new ideas for waste management, and that is one of the important parts was this development of Smart Cogen, which is a sanitary pad incinerator, which looks it's kept out there. It's a small incinerator which we have developed and started commercializing. It is gaining a lot of attraction. A lot of attraction. That's how we developed this AI model also for the user-friendly this one for Cogen system, and we want to develop many more systems in future and many more and work in this field of waste management, and try to help the country as well as the general community, society at large. So this is what I wanted to tell you, and of course all my colleagues here are aware of all these developments, and I particularly thank all the speakers who have come here and giving us insight of what work they are doing. And it was very wonderful to listen to them and see them doing all these kind of different types of jobs for sustainability and women empowerment in particularly that Bij Mata was really an example of how rural women from very lower strata of the society can make change in life. So that was very inspiring, and all others had given a very good insight of what work they are doing and how it is useful for the people at large, and I think we have a very bright future with so many women coming forward and doing such kind of pioneering work. Thank you very much.
So now we are closing the event. So I would request Sandeep sir to felicitate Dr. Mathur ma'am. I request Dinesh sir to felicitate Reshma ma'am. Reshma ma'am, sorry. स्मार्ट एन्व्हायरोच्या तर्फे आम्ही सर्वांचे आभार मानतो फॉर प्रेझेंट हिअर अँड फॉर युअर टाईम. ह्या कार्यक्रमानंतर आपण एक टीम फोटो घेणार आहोत. स्मार्ट एन्व्हायरो टीमचा फोटो घेणार आहोत आणि त्या फोटो सेशननंतर समुचित एन्व्हायरोटेक आहे, त्यांनी एक बायोचारचं मशीन बनवलं आहे. त्याचा एक छोटा डेमो एम्प्लॉईसाठी वगैरे आपण ठेवलेला आहे आणि द गेस्ट अँड डायरेक्टर कॅन लीव फॉर द लंच आफ्टर द फोटो सेशन. Okay, and I request a photo of our guest with smart cuisine model, which is designed for the room. Thank you.